So we've covered a lot of basics in the Bhagavad Gita, but what I can do is I can do a summary at the end of those basics because you missed them. You might be already aware of it, but
that will record it.
I've been doing it for 8 years.
I feel brilliant, fantastic.
Yes, I'm caught up.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, so I'll just do the prayer, and then we can go into the verses we're going to be looking at. Om Gyana Timarandasya Gyanan Yana Samaka Tatsuram Ritum Yana Tasne Sri Guru Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yana Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tadati Swapantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamanam Sri Guru Vaishnavascha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Sagnata Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvitam Sadhutam Pajajanaya Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vikram Sanktanscha He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Kopisa Gopikanta Radha Kanto Namostate Tapta Kancha Gorangi Radha Vrindavaisari Visabhana Sutta Devi Pranamai Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tribuscha Vipasundave Evacha Patitanaya Pavanaveo Vaishnaveyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.
Sorry, Prabhu, I need to take this call. I have doctors.
Yeah, no worries at all. Yeah, no worries at all. Actually, I'm just going to grab a couple of these things. If somebody goes out, I can always repeat evidence, don't worry if you need me to go. If you want to say anything personal, we normally stop the recording. So sometimes people want to talk about something that's happening in their lives as they get more comfortable with the program. And that's okay, we'll just pause it. It won't be on the recording on YouTube or anything, so don't worry about that. I think sometimes it takes time to be confident, have the confidence to be vulnerable, but that then obviously when you do get heard to do that, that does accelerate your progress if you can do that. So what we're going to start with today is called the Isvavasana principle, which is in the link I sent you on the WhatsApp, so I have to pull it out on your phone. No, that's in the lecture of instruction.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, then what's the first one?
So the first one is one point of it.
Oh yeah,
Then we're doing the second, that's the invocation, and we're doing the first mantra.
Imanta Vaspate Yogan Tapaham Mahapaya. Give us one on the head, one of each part of the
No, you'll see it in a minute. I'll read it out. It's Isavas with also,
Tiana Unjita Maya Kasusi.
Yeah. I know, I had it rammed down my throat as a child. So there's no escaping it for me. Okay, so Isavas from Idam Savam, Yakin Jagatyam Jagat, Tena Jagata Punjita, Marjana Kasya Swadinam. So everything animate or inanimate that is within this universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself or herself, which are set aside as his or her quota, and one should not accept other things known to well whom they belong. Yeah. So just a basic starting point on this. This reason we're doing some of the things we do is if you want to then go on to the Bhakti Shastri course of ISKCON, which is the kind of entry-level theology course. Over the period that we've done, we've taken a lot from that course, so you should have the easier bit of time to actually do the course if you have something you want to do that course. I recommend, within the first 10 or 15 years of ISKCON, you have a go at it at least, because you'll pick up some amazing insights from all the text, the verses in the Bhagavad Gita, and some of the Prabhupada's small books, which will really kind of, you'll think you've interpreted something correctly, but until you see the kind of the way that the Mayapur school interprets things, you understand where you're right or wrong, and how that could have impacted on you, your day-to-day practice. So it's always good to kind of get engagement at the highest level possible if you can. So we'll try and emulate some of that. So everything animate or inanimate. So if we just look at those words, some boring academic stuff on that. Animare in Latin means to bring to life, to get the word animation, right? So animate is something that is moving, and inanimate is something that's not moving. Trees, plants, could be some sort of insect under the ocean, doesn't move. So it's controlled. Right, so start with that. The first proposition is, if you are animate or inanimate, so a jiva in any of those two bodies, so the soul in any of those two bodies, you are controlled by Krishna. Okay? That's the first sub part of that principle. Okay? So we don't ultimately we have independence, but we don't have independence, particularly in this material world. Okay? So as we know, the material world has two purposes, designed by Krishna by two purposes. And that is to reform the conduct of the conditioned souls and to refine their intentions. Okay? So the intentions should be pure love of God. So one point in history they were in the spiritual world, we were all in the spiritual world, we misbehaved. We wanted to emulate God rather than serve Him out of love. So we've been put here to reform ourselves, reform our minds, to go back to loving God, with our intentions, and our conduct eventually, over time, will reflect that we want to share love with God. Okay? This is very well summarized in the last possible paragraph of the Bhagavad Gita, which is, Prabhupada makes a distinction between the pleasure taker and the pleasure giver. So in the material world, everyone's a pleasure taker, they want to emulate God, they want to enjoy sense pleasure for their own pleasure. But eventually, as you become more spiritual, as a pure devotee, everything you start to do becomes about Krishna. You know, as I've talked about many times, why do I brush my teeth so my mouth is clean? So I smile at deities, Krishna enjoys my smile. Okay? Why do I cook my breakfast? I'm actually not thinking about my stomach, I'm not thinking about my tongue, I'm actually thinking about baby Krishna needs breakfast. What does he want to eat? So I start planning my breakfast according to Krishna's intentions. Okay? So as we slowly change our intentions through the day and how we live our days, we become closer to the original state of being back in the spiritual world. The pleasure giver to the Lord rather than the pleasure taker of the theology. So this is the first point here, is that we don't have, ultimately the material world is controlled by material energy, which is subordinate to Krishna. She's Prakriti, she's subordinate to Purusa. So everything here is designed to get you to behave properly. If you don't do it in this life, karma punishes you, you come back as something else, you've got to go back, work your way back to human form, and then have another go. Your bhakti exams or bhakti driving license is eternal. That never changes, that always gets more plus points on it. So you can eventually get out. Yeah. I'm just going to have to move your Bhagavad Gita to your feet. So, because otherwise I won't have got the effect, sorry about that. So we're trying to eventually think about everything we do in a way that brings us closer to Krishna. Yep? So that's the idea. So we are not the controllers, yeah? And for people starting off the bhakti journey, they're living their life where they think they are the doers of everything that occurs. Yeah? So they are causing the reactions of their actions. Yeah? So a deluded soul thinks that, hey, I got a really good exam result because I worked really, really hard. And in some ways that's true. But from a Bhagavad Gita point of view, that's not true. Okay? Because what's happened is that you've got this body and the mindset of this body are part of the material energy, which is given to you because of all your previous births. So you've awarded that mental state and a desire to do that exam. It might be the mode of passion, or the mode of goodness. I'm going to do the exam because I'm going to be a nurse, or I'm going to go and be a charity worker in Africa, or I'm going to do the exam because I'm going to be a banker and earn lots of money, the mode of passion. But those things, the modes of nature, are all part of the subtle body, which is the mental, psychological state that you have. That's given from all your previous birth. That's accumulated to this tendency of the mindset you have in this life. Okay? So you're not actually the doer of these things, you'll be controlled by a puppet master, which is Maya. Yeah? And Maya's going to bash you against the walls, like that. Imagine you're just going to swing, bash, until you start to think, hang on a minute, what am I doing? You know, I'm not actually in control. So that's the idea of this process, which is no superiors just kidding. So, I'm talking about it. Hare Krishna. Would you mind we're not going to do the food today, so I don't know if you're expecting food.
No, that's
Yeah,
completely.
so I apologise for that. Yeah. So we're looking at mantra 1
Right.
of the Discourse, which is in your Google WhatsApp link. So you can click on that, it should come up. Yeah. So discussing the fact that we're not in control of this body, so we have these impulses from our previous lives. So for example, we've got a bit of aggression in us because we might have been a tiger or a scorpion 11 births ago. Okay, these tendencies are there. We might be lustful, or we might be vengeful, or we might be possessive. Yeah, these have all come from what we've done previously, and that's what we've got. But now we're trying to clean that out. We're trying to deliver the mind and its psychological tendencies back to Krishna. It's going to remove all those imprints of previous births through bhakti. It's going to clean all that out. So people say, I'm purifying my consciousness. What does that mean? That's to stop the karmic impact of what's happened, the birth after birth after birth, that's turned you into this thing. So you're not Steve, you're not Pradeep, I'm not this body or this psychological mindset. That's not who I am. Yeah. So we have to understand that we're not the controllers and not the doer of our actions. Okay? So this is kind of a difficult thing to swallow because, as I've said before, ever since you're a kid, you've been told, hey, you're doing this, well done, you've done well in this exam, you've done well in the race, you've done well reading your books, you've done well going to the library, you've done it, you, the body. I've done it. And now we're starting to tell ourselves, no, it's not me, I've not been doing these things. Okay? We're unraveling that. And that takes time, it takes that, as you chant more deeply, as you do more kirtans, more bhakti, more serving other devotees, you'll start to break down all those impressions, samskaras from previous births. Okay, so that's everything is controlled by the Lord, and everything is owned by the Lord. Yeah, and this is a harder thing to people to understand because you are a part, as this jiva, you're a part of the Supreme. As if you're like a part of his toenail, you're a toenail on the toe. You're a part of him. Okay? You're not this completely independent thing that's running around doing whatever it wants. Right? So we have, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about, in the last 6 chapters, about the field, the body being the field, and the soul knows this body to some extent. But Krishna is the super soul, every heart. So he knows everybody. Yeah? As you're interacting with somebody in a gambling match, playing cards with them, he's defining who's going to win from previous karma, previous history. He's in both people's hearts. Okay? You're not being owned, you're not controlling that situation. Okay? Krishna is controlling through the merging nation. Yeah? So we are in this illusion of thinking we're the controllers and we're the owners. And this is our illusion. Okay? And you have to really sink it into yourself that I'm very, very limited. I'm not owning anything or controlling anything. Yeah? I was watching a video this morning. The first time I was washing the dishes in my house, I'm quite lazy. I get told off when I'm doing it. So I put this video on, and the video said, I think after 3 months after you die, people only think about you like once a month or something, and 6 months after you physically die. They're thinking about you, I think it is, once every 3 months. And then it kind of turns into once a year after 4 or 5 years. So that's how irrelevant you are, physically. You're just all this paraphernalia of being here in this material world is all pretty much superfluous. It's an illusion. But because we want to emulate Krishna and be the Lord, we're turning everything that's temporary into permanent. I've got a mortgage in my house, you own my house. You can't own your house, you're going to die, and then after that goes into trust, goes into inheritance. This is a fraction of a second. So human beings have been here, what scientists say, 1 second to midnight in terms of the dinosaurs and the history of the planet. And you're not here for even a fraction of that 1 second to midnight. We're here for almost no time whatsoever. But yet we're endeavouring so hard to create permanence and impermanence. And that's the source of our frustration. Because we're usurping the controller, we're usurping Krishna. Yeah? That's what we're doing. And you can't be God. This is, not to make a Trump joke, because every time there's a discussion, this is an angle for a Trump joke, but this is what's going wrong in the world, as Prabhupada would say. That everyone in charge thinks they're completely in charge, and that deluded. They don't understand that this is somebody else's property. So this is when we understand this principle, the Isarvasana principle, we can reach the realization that we have stolen Krishna's material energy, this body. This is Krishna's property, and we're using it for ourselves when we should be using it for Krishna. The example I give is you take your neighbour's car one day because you walk into his house is open, you take the keys, you drive off the car, and you kind of occasionally, when you become a devotee, you start to occasionally recognise, sorry mate, I've got your car, but I'll give it back to you next week, And the neighbour's like, what does my car? You just take my car, what are you doing? Well, our approach to Bhakti sometimes is like, okay, at least we're recognising it's not, belongs to us, it belongs to Krishna. But really, as we progress and become more honest on what we are, we've got to say to the neighbour, hang on, I've nicked your car. Nicked your car, mate. Do you want me to take it to Coles? Do you want me to do this for you? Do you want me to take that for you? Can I get some baking stuff and bake you a cake? This is how we're progressing in our bhakti, right? We're learning to go, oh, actually, God, I did forget you. Now I'm going to do a little bit more for you. But I really still want to enjoy for myself. I'm going to keep the car for myself. Go for a little joyride in the morning. I'm going to eat this cake. I know I probably shouldn't, but I don't even know if Krishna wants it, I'll eat it. Because my tongue wants to have it, my belly wants to have it. We've all been there. So this is the process that comes out of this principle that we are stealing Krishna's material energy. So if we're taking it, we can't really take it for ourselves. We've got to learn to take it for Krishna. And to understand what Krishna wants, we learn the 9 principles of devotional service. Chanting, hearing, reading the literature, and then worshiping the deity, and then finally complete surrender. When you just go, hey, you're in a material prison, and you go, I just don't want to be a thief anymore. I just can't stand there. I just feel so guilty. It's like, these murderers that kind of in the press, they eventually come out and go, it's been 20 years, no one's caught me, but I just can't deal with it, I need to be punished. They confess, they go to the police station. And the process begins in the criminal justice system. And I think that's what our bhakti is kind of a gradual expression in some ways of repentance. Until we come to this, God, I really shouldn't have been here in the first place. And then we hit really big milestones in our chanting. Because we kind of go, we start with our chanting with an understanding of Krishna, I shouldn't be here another day in this world, I shouldn't have fallen into this world. I've stolen because I'm trying to beat you, and I was really stupid because no one can beat you, you're amazing. Really fallen soul. And you give me the mercy of trying to get back to you, trying to get out of it. I just don't want another life like this. Krishna says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, so many lives you've had you don't remember. I remember all of them, I was with you. I remember all my past avatars, but you don't remember it. What I say to people is, you've had employment problems, mortgage problems, car problems, weather problems in all your previous lives. I mean, what's so special about this? So attach them, God, someone's doing this to me at work. It's a temporary illusion. These pains and pangs are temporary illusions, right, of just being in this world because we were naughty. And it's very difficult to, I think also as we progress, we can be more honest. There's loads of things about myself that I go, I'm never gonna stop doing that. I'm never gonna stop buying coffee for random women. Whatever it is. And then suddenly through bhakti it stops. Somehow Krishna goes, okay, you're now being honest in this repentant process. Now you're focusing on trying to improve that, get rid of that habit. I'm now going to assist you because you know that I'm in charge of the material world. I'm ultimately in charge of you. And that's what surrender is about. It's about saying, I can't do this alone. I need you to help me. Right? Like really, when you give a Bhagavad Gita class, it's the speaker that really gets the most benefit because they're actually ironing out their own thoughts as they're speaking. So the service, it's really like the speaker should be bowing down for me. I should be bowing down to you guys because you're giving me an opportunity to kind of vent my own thinking and my frustrations in this process. I have enormous gratitude for that. And that's how we then, this idea of everyone's helping each other, is how we will progress back to Godhead. So So anyway, that's the first part of Isa Vasantam. Second part is that if you are a thief, stop taking more and more. Yeah? So Krishna says, one should therefore accept only those things necessary for him or herself, which are set aside as his or her quota, and one should not accept other things knowing well to whom they belong. Okay. So if we're going to be here and steal material energy and enjoy it for ourselves, we should really try and minimise that, right? Not try to, because that's going to help us progress. Right? We don't want to sort of go, yeah, you know what, I'm really into this Bhakti stuff, but I want to collect vintage champagne and sell it on eBay to some dude in Mexico who's very wealthy, and I want to take that money and then I kind of want to buy a fast motorcycle with it because it's really good fun. And I'll still listen to some Krishna stuff, but you know, we want to minimise this kind of habits, right? Or I want to kind of get a really nice handbag, you know, and I've been to the past Louis Vuitton shop in Burnside, which I have. Not that I wanted a handbag. But you get a Louis Vuitton shop, and maybe I'll get a Louis Vuitton wallet, which is $3,500 one day. And actually, you're not supposed to be doing stuff like that. You're supposed to be minimising these impulses. You know. Now, for me, this is quite a big thing because if I see a Louis Vuitton tie, I probably want to buy it. I have to stop myself. It's like, no, that's $400 for Prabhupada. Don't buy the tie. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going through that reformatory process. I'm not doing stuff like that. So, but I can be honest. You know, whatever I did in my previous lives, I have these impulses. You know, some of you know that I had wads of expensive suits in the Parliament in England, or Britain, and Krishna burnt that whole Parliament. So I was attached to all these expensive clothing. Krishna was like, no, you're not going to learn the hard way. I'm going to get rid of them all for you. So it burns out that whole Parliament. Everything all right?
I think I would like to go home.
Okay, that's right. That's okay. That's no problem. No, actually, is there anything I can help with?
No.
Okay, right.
A lot of problems.
No, don't worry. Steve, you need help packing up? You okay?
Sorry, probably I
No, it's okay. Things happen. Hope to see you next week.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, so I had this really strange meeting with Keshav Swami for this on Thursday, and he was like, "You're going to go to Berlin. You're going to go to Berlin and see Sachinanda Swami." I was like, "Go to Berlin and see Sachinanda Swami." I was like, "No." So Sunday night, we're going to sort out the accommodation. I want you to Berlin, go to Berlin Temple. We need to pick a temple. You know, we need to sort out funding. So I was like, "Okay." So I went home to the wife and was like, "You know, we have to go to Berlin on the weekend." She's like, "Berlin? No, not Berlin." If you're English, you know, this word German is mentioned 1,000 million war jokes here in your head. But you know, Berlin. Anyway, so we looked up the hotels, and there was a Champions League football final that weekend in Berlin. So we couldn't the hotels were like £2,000, $4,000, some ridiculous hotel. Can't go to Berlin. I said, I'll go another time. And I felt really bad, obviously. I thought this is an opportunity for Krishna, and I was being an idiot. I wasn't taking the opportunity. So anyway, so Sunday morning, when I was supposed to be in Berlin, I was at Rath Yatra in Scotland. So this is Rath Yatra in Scotland, and I had a funny feeling it was Rath Yatra. So I said to my wife, let's take the kids and go down to Manchester. I've got a meeting tomorrow. So Berlin, no, go down to Manchester. And the weather there's appalling, you know. Right, we were driving down to Manchester, and we got a phone call from the police. We're like, hello? What have we done? What have you done? It's like, you in your apartment? No, we're not in the apartment, we've left. Thank God, because the apartment doesn't exist anymore. Like, a laptop battery, floor underneath it exploded, and the whole thing's burned out. It's like, Krishna really wanted me to go to Berlin, and he was telling Keshav Swami through a super song, get to Berlin, go to Berlin. And I didn't go to Berlin. Anyway, if we'd gone to Berlin, this is the funny thing, all our passports got burned, all our stuff got burned. If we'd gone to Berlin, the money that we we would spend on hotels. We had to spend in the past getting all the passports back so we could come back to Australia. That's what weird. So Krishna had some weird arrangement that, but he saved us. But there's always Krishna always has a plan, and I think next day we had a sort of Bhakti meeting in the morning, and I was telling my devotees, and she was like, "You're just laughing it off." I was like, "No, it's Krishna. He's always got a plan, it's being too materialistic. Get rid of the one. Hare Krishna.
Chord. If you need the chord, just find another one.
Oh,
If you need it, just find another one.
give it, of course. No problem. So this idea of controller, who is the ultimate controller? Krishna is the ultimate controller. And as you have Shraddha, as you develop faith, you'll see that Krishna is doing all sorts of miracles. You're just not realizing it. How did you actually get that exam result? The examiner gave you the exam result. It was in your heart. And that happened. Krishna's in everyone's heart, controlling everything. How did you get that job offer? How did you get that job? As we develop, we understand that because Krishna is a controller, we have this deep gratitude for everything we have. Right? Our jobs, our houses, our cars, our phones. Right? The people in the world don't have these things. Krishna is giving us through the previous piety we've done, the material good karma that we've done. But he's the ultimate donor. Right? We're not the doers here. Krishna is ultimately giving it to us. So then we have to realize, I'm so grateful for everything I have, given to me by Krishna. I have to use it for Krishna. Right? That's the penny that has to drop at some point. And then again, you'll be able to see things with a kind of more progressive light. And that takes time, But also, the more honest you are, and if you're dishonest like me, it takes years. But if you're more honest with yourself, it will just come quicker to you. Some people go, "How did you get so accelerated so quickly?" Well, because they're probably being honest with themselves. They're probably being honest with God. And so Krishna's putting them all, putting them very fast. To get them out of there. We're still trying to work ourselves out. It takes time. But it's all a process. It's not happening overnight. So that's that part of it. So we don't want to overextend our reach. So that's a big thing to learn. So this leads nicely into verse 7.5 of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the next verse on the WhatsApp. Everything okay so far, Laura? Yeah. Too fast, too quick, too slow? Yep. Who wants to read it out?
Besides these, almighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material and inferior nature.
You can read up to the end of the Bhagavatam, quite. You can read that out.
Here it clearly mentions that the living entities belong to the superior nature or energy of the Supreme Lord. The inferior energy is matter manifested in different elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Both forms of material nature, namely gross earth and subtle mind, are products of the inferior energy. The living entities who are exploiting these inferior energies for different purposes are the superior energy of the Supreme Lord. And it is due to this energy that the entire material world functions. The cosmic manifestation has no power to act unless it is moved by the superior energy, the living entity. Energies that are always controlled by the energetic, and therefore the living entities are always controlled by the Lord. They are no independent existence. They have no independent existence. They are never equally powerful, and unintelligent men think what is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So just to read out.
Yes, I am supreme eternal. If the embodied living entities were eternal and all pervading like you, then they would not be under your control. But if the living entities are accepted as minute energies of your lordship, they are at once subject to your supreme control. Therefore, real liberation entails surrender by the living entities to your control, and that surrender will make them happy. In that constitutional position, only can they be controllers. Therefore, men with limited knowledge who advocate the monistic theory that God and the living entities are equal in all respects are actually guided by a faulty and primitive opinion. Yeah? So this goes back to what we're talking about, which is emulating the supreme. So our natures as jivas, souls, are we have qualitatively the same tendencies as Krishna, right? So we have a tendency to be lording over things. We have a tendency to love. We have a tendency to fear. You know, we talk about all these different relationships that we can get into in devotional service with the Lord. Ghastliness and or shock and awe and reverence and all this stuff. We have these natures which come from the divine, but we're not as powerful as the divine. That's why we're able to be subject to the illusion of the divine's material energy. Yeah. And one of the most important verses, actually it's the verse before this, where Krishna says, it's not just matter that is my inferior energy, it's also the mind, which is your brain, which is composed, your thoughts, the neurons, right? They're composed of Krishna's material energy too. So, as you develop spiritually, you realize, that's my mind playing a game on me. That's the material energy. Right? That's not me as the soul. Yeah? Like things like doubt, or things like fear, or things like anger. These are concoctions of the mind, which is temporary, which is part of the material energy. Right? So what Krishna is saying is that once you understand, Arjuna, you're on a battlefield, you don't want to fight, but actually you're just being subjected to the material energy, the mind, the intelligence, and the modes of nature. Put you in ignorance, you're not willing to do your duty. So we have to be very, very careful about the mind. It's the hardest thing to tame, really. And the best way is that once you start understanding your own signature, like a genetic footprint, you've got a mental footprint. There's a way in which you would like to make hot milk. There's a way in which you would like to think about this object or that sense object or this sense object. And eventually you can have a time, especially if you write a journal, which is very important for Bhakti, you'll develop a kind of audit of the way your thinking goes. And you're going to go, this is stuff that I should be doing if I want to be a devotee. Well, let me try and cross this one out in the next 4 months. And next quarter I'll work on that one, and I'll work on that one. And very quickly, as Krishna sees your sincerity, as the material energy is subject to his power, he'll remove it out of your way. Like a weight, like a foot, any foot on your chest will just come off. Krishna determines that. And that sincerity is very important in that process. So sincerity comes with a humility, honesty, and gratitude, and those come from understanding, hang on, I'm not a pure devotee, I don't think about Krishna all the time, so what am I thinking about? Let me write that down, and let me try to work on that, and get out of my system. These days, by Krishna's mercy, of course, I find the only times I really struggle are when I'm ill, when the material energy is, I can't really control my mind, and then I even, now that's taken me years, I have fail-safe mechanisms by Bhakti, that will kick in. Like, I know if I'm going to take some Nurofen or something, I'll know I'll have a good 20 minutes, I can do my 5 rounds then. I can have another bit of Nurofen to my other 5 rounds. So I've even got a plan for that, if I get ill, how I can keep some Bhakti going. And that comes from years of auditing it. Why is it, if I see this, that's definitely going to distract me, because I'm not going to read Bhagavatam if I go into some hyper expensive mall and start trying out Hugo Boss clothing, whatever it is. You've got a Hugo Boss top, I've got a Hugo Boss trouser. That's weird like that. But anyway, if you start your mind goes on these material things, then your mind is not on Krishna, it's on the inferior energy, right? And you have to pull the mind back like a horse. And the mind's tendency, because it's part of the material energy, is to go anywhere where the material energy is. Anything shiny, that you have an impulse for. So So initially people struggle with eating meat, you know, and they stop eating meat when they smell the meat, they don't know what it tastes like anymore. They've actually forgotten. That teaches them if they're smart. If I go somewhere where I smell bacon, for example, I want to eat it. And if I'm not progressed enough, I then might eat it occasionally. You know? So that can happen to you. But then you've got to use your intelligence and go, hang on, if I'm strong enough, why put myself in temptation's way? You know? Like an alcoholic, you know, the worst place for him is being in a bar, right? You know, when they go to AA, stuff like that, and do other activities with their program for coming out of alcoholism, right? They make sure they don't end up in a bar, they've got other places to socialise. They go to other groups to socialise outside. That's why we emphasise Satsanga, because it gets you away from materialistic dialogue. Let's talk about AFL, or whatever it is, NBA, or, you know, whatever it is, somebody's romance, or somebody's work problem, or whatever. You know, these things are temporary material things. They're not going to last into the next life, right? So for a spiritualist, they're not important. As blunt and horrible as it sounds. Now, there's a version of a response to people's problems, because you understand that they're in the material world and conditioned, and they're going to feel the pain of these things because they haven't come out of the conditioning. So that you can sympathise with. But the way Prabhupada explains this is, everyone's got a fever. Fever is to light material energy, like coming out of the fever. So you've got to feel sorry for people who are ill, right? And they may lash out at you. Imagine you're a really kind nurse, and someone who's got horrible, like, I don't know, diphtheria or something, migraines, and they're saying, "Rah, go away from me, nurse," you know, and lashing out at you. But the nurse has got that compassion, understanding, okay, come back and still give him his food, still help him, still clean him up. And as devotees, we have to deal with conditioned souls that way. You know, we have to understand that they're heavily in this fever of material conditioning, so we have to have the compassion and forgiveness that Lord Chaitanya has taught us. You know, because they're embodied in the subtle body, which is part of the material conditioning for many lives. You know? So as Pradeep was saying, he's chanting 16 rounds now. You can feel the difference, you know. And you feel that difference is, what about the Pradeep of 10 years ago? How does the material energy impact on him? Impacts now, right? It would have been harder, it would have struggled for all of us in our initial stages. And if we're not going to think about ourselves with that compassion and kindness, how are we going to see other people that way? You know, we mustn't get too puffed up as we're progressing. We must always try to help others. You know, and sometimes, as Prabhupada said, he was giving out the medicine. He was this amazing doctor, right? He didn't care how much the patient was protesting. You know, the other nurses might have gone, "Oh, well, you know, he's really pressing really hard. He's really violent. You know, I don't want to pour it down his throat." But Prabhupada didn't care. Like, take it. Yeah, some of them spat it out. But some of them did take the medicine, and they did start to get cured. And the fever of the material conditioning went down. The temperature stopped dropping. They find the material energy less attractive. You know? So the mind is a crucial part. Okay, I might have ranted on for too long. What time is it now?
Sorry?
What time is it?
It's 7:42.
Almost done. So, questions, discussion, dialogue, problems, things, difficulties you're finding. If you want to turn the camera off, we can turn it off, so you can perhaps open up a bit more. You can ask me, I'm doing this, but this isn't working. How do I get to pass this stage? Or, you know, it can be anything. You know, I'm in madly in love with this guy, or whatever. You know, they're not right for me, but I've got a terrible sexual impulse. Or I secretly drink brandy first thing in the morning and I can't stop myself. You know, it doesn't matter whether occasionally take a bit of cocaine. You know, I went to an English boarding school, so I saw people doing all sorts of things. Don't worry. You know, we can approach the modernist kind of way. But if you don't talk about your problems, then you're going to progress and keep hitting the wall. You know, better to learn about. If I was a saint, I wouldn't be in the material world. You know, so don't worry. I'm much more fallen than you are. Whatever you think you're doing is bad. I'm either doing or done worse. You know, so.
Yeah, I mean, I was just reflecting on you shared about mind and our intelligence guiding us.
Yep.
But then there are so many influences as well.
Yep.
And biases that we operate through, like how we think and how we make our decisions. And so many people have influences on how we think, like, because we know that maybe this person might want it this way, so let me do it this way. So their influences and what we are consuming on a daily basis, that influences. So how do we or we also influencing other people's decisions because we think a certain way.
Yeah.
So how do we put ourselves out of the equation where we decide for ourselves and for other people, but in a detached way, and how do we know that we are driven by our consciousness and not we want to be intelligent and practical and in all our decisions, but at the end you realize that it's not your plan that's working for you. And so
okay, so that's a good question. A little bit abstract, but I'll try to work my way through it. I think just also the answer just depends on how surrendered you are, how you approach this. Right? If you are deeply understanding Krishna is in charge constantly, then there will be a degree of detachment to these kind of the way you approach these things. So you will try and work out, if you're constantly trying to work out what Krishna wants, that's what you'll be trying to do in a given situation. So you might be talking to somebody aggressive. I could be talking to one of my clients, and the super soul is inside their heart, where the soul is super soul is telling them what to do, and I'm trying to go, okay, what does Krishna want to happen here? You know? And it could be somebody. I'm a lawyer, commercial lawyer in London. I do pretty well at it. And sometimes I go, what's the Krishna angle here? You know? And my job is to they might watch this on YouTube, but I'm trying to bring as many people as I now meet to chant Hare Krishna. So I'm just looking for an opportunity to bring Krishna to that conversation. Right, they need my help, and they're going if someone's done £2 million with me, or $5 million with me, or $20 million, or $100 million with me, and then I become friends with them, and I get them chanting Hare Krishna, give them something eternal amongst the impermanence that they're attached to. And I think that comes with time, and it comes with a deep set of understanding that you are really here for Krishna. So what's the Krishna benefit to this moment? What's the angle? And sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're just listening to somebody, and you go, okay, well, I'll listen to them for 4 or 5 weeks. But if there's not a Krishna angle to it, move on to the next song. There might want some Krishna messages. And I think you'll be amazed how much you can do in your life to change people's karmic journeys by this. Because we're only here by the mercy of devotees. Devotees didn't give us a book or take us to a kirtan or introduce us to Krishna consciousness. If Prabhupada hadn't written these books, if it wasn't Prabhupada, I would certainly be going towards hell if I didn't come from it. I would have no chance against the mature energy. And we have to have a deep recognition of that and then want to give it to other people. So I think that partially answers your question. The other half of it is, if they're too materially conditioned and you're in a material conversation, which is your duty to have that material conversation, then if you're carrying out your duty ultimately for Krishna, then that's something you said you have to do, right? Arjuna had to clean his arrows every night, right? But he was cleaning it because he was fighting the war for Krishna. So I'm cleaning my arrows because I'm getting a little blood off them, or if any of them are bent or broken or whatever, I'm going to repair them because I'm doing it for Krishna. I'm doing my job for Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate proprietor of the results of my activities. So we talk about put the God in the center of your life, as American Baptist preachers say. That's what it actually means in practice. It's about putting Krishna into everything you do. And you'll start, I think for myself anyway, things got easier when I started breaking away, having a 2-minute moment at 11 o'clock, going, okay, this is the day so far, I'm supposed to be living this day for Krishna. What am I going to do for the next few hours for Krishna? What am I doing? How's this helping for Krishna? And sometimes I'm doing a transaction because a transaction will pay for a temple somewhere, or I'm doing something for book distribution, I'm doing something to help another devotee. There's always some link, and it's always you can write it down and plan it and go, this week I'm going to do this. My week is going to be for Krishna, my month is going to be Krishna, and my year becomes for Krishna, and my life becomes for Krishna. Okay? But you start with the moments in front of you. And that's just about surrender. And some things, some situations you can't control, so you realise you've got to minimise those. That takes time. When you're young, you've got the social conditioning, you're used to being around people, materially conditioned. I think it's a lot harder than most people in their 20s. As they get older, I think they eventually just get bored of those things anyway, and they then get a stimulation they think they might get out of them, so they come out of those situations. You know? So I think over time, as long as you become more conscious about it, you'll become detached. But it's a progressive thing. You know, Krishna consciousness doesn't happen overnight. The only time it did happen overnight is the 4 Kumaras, you know, the sons of Brahma who smelled the flowers. They were transcendental, but they became pure devotees by smelling the flowers offered to Krishna. Because they were almost at that stage, you just needed it's like a fire in Australia, you know, you just need someone to leave a bit of incense stick in the summer and it all goes off, you know. And that was their karmic journey at that point, you know. But remember, even Brahma, you know the famous story, the Brahma Vimoda Lila, where Brahma steals the creator of all the planets, all of the entities, the first procreator effectively. He steals Krishna's friends and hides them in the clouds, and a microsecond later he goes, what have I done? And he looks down and the boys are still there, they're still in the clouds, they're still there, and Krishna's tricked him, right? And Brahma has 3 brains, he's extremely more intelligent than us, and he gets tricked by Maya because he's proud. And Krishna brings all the Brahmas from different universes. Brahma says, I thought I was the only Brahma, oh my God, what's all this? He realizes his words are, I was like a glowworm at night, thinking I was very bright, and then the sun came out and I realised I'm not very bright at all. You know, that's how he felt before Krishna. You know, and we have to understand, if Brahma can get illusioned, it's very easy for us. But also we have an advantage, because if we understand how limited we are, we can have humility. And humility brings sincerity, it brings gratitude, and that attracts Krishna. So if you're, it's might be easier if you're a girl. If you think, if you wake up in the morning and go, what are the jewelry I can wear for Krishna, right? Well, jewelry is humility, sincerity, it's purity in everything you do, and gratitude. Those are like some of the biggest jewels you can put on yourself. Yeah, I'm going to live this day with those jewels on me, because that's what Krishna's going to love. And I'm a part of Krishna. I want Krishna. I'm here for Krishna. I'm not here for me. You've got to cross that bridge, and life is so much easier when you're selfless. Like, look at all of the world, and they're going crazy. You know, I think there was Kesha Swami on one of the videos I was watching over the weekend. He gave this marvelous example of the material world. He said there was a massive queue outside a circus, and it said, you know, $1 to go and watch the circus, but only one person allowed it at a time. You know, so you see that. So they walk in, and he walks into the circus. This is the first guy, pays $1. He's the only guy in the circus, and 2 wrestlers come and beat the crap out of him. And he kind of leaves and what the hell was that? It's really painful. He leaves, and the next guy goes, was it good? He goes, I don't want to say it was bad. Yeah, it was amazing. God. And everyone keeps doing that, keep going to the circus, getting beaten up and coming out and well, it was amazing. And that's what the conditioned souls are like in the material world. Whoa, it's really good to be stressed all the time about making more money. Yeah, I've got a heart problem, but I'm a billionaire. Like, they're crazy. And they just, if we're all lying in it together, you know, it's like a bunch of alcoholics who go out on the bender, right, in the bar. They're having a great time, but they're killing themselves. You know, it's, as long as they're together, the delusion continues, right? But you don't have to join that gang. That's the great thing about Prabhupada's movement. You can jump out of it. You can get onto the lifeboat. You can jump off the Titanic. Like it's going into the iceberg. You know. Yeah. Anything else?
Did Pooja tell you her Brisbane experience?
Yeah, so I'll just give you a little context. So there was some point in my life where a relative of mine said that there will be a
So
point.
do you want to turn it off? You okay?
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there will be a point in your life where you'll need a guru whenever you grow up. And I was very young at that time. So maybe last year I planned a journey to Vrindavan, and I went. I thought maybe during the trip I'll listen to someone or find someone, And I go in this room, which was in ISKCON itself. I go in this room, maybe I'll find someone. And then at the end, there was just this cupboard I just encountered, and it says, I went in search of a guru in that room, and there was this book, and it says, Bhagavad Gita as it is. So since that, I just thought, okay, for now, God just wants me to keep following the book. And as soon as I reached in a few weeks, we had Keshav Maharaj visiting, but he was not coming to Adelaide, so I thought I'll book this and I'll go there to Krishna Village. And I met him at the airport itself, at the airport, and then at the temple. And then I happened to, from Gold Coast, like Krishna Village, I happened to extend my visit to Brisbane. Coincidentally, the date, he was also during so the coincidences were so loud, like wherever I went, I just kept encountering him. And so, yeah.
So there's a program in Brisbane as well, and you got to go to Keshav's program there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So in Gold, I met him at the airport, then I spent the session at Krishna Village, and then Brisbane community. He was visiting there as well, and that was a coincidence again.
Yeah.
But everything just lined up without you putting in effort. So it's like, yeah, I felt very nice.
Yeah, I love that story. Yeah, brilliant, fantastic. Yeah, Krishna, Krishna will see you sincerely. Once you're ready for the next step, he'll make sure you're. Some of us need to be kicked by the material energy a few more times, but we'll all get that. I mean, I think maybe worth at some point when he's in the UK at Manor, I could probably get you to, but we talk about it. Probably just get you staying there while he's there in one of the temple guest houses. Then you could do some service there, meet some other devotees. But anyway, so he travels everywhere now.
Yeah, he got me thinking.
Kuala Lumpur one day, somewhere else.
Yeah.
Paris, Germany. I mean, I think the amazing thing is, if you want to serve, there's so many opportunities to serve Krishna in ISKCON. There's no time for your own personal problems. What time do we have to think about ourselves and our little problems? There's so much to do. There's so many people out there that read a book so that 3 lifetimes from now they become Swami. They might not do it now, it's like, but they need our help, and only by the mercy of devotees can you really, obviously there's Krishna's hand that goes to some degree in that as well, but it's the mercy of the devotees that kind of we get out of there. It's like, this is a horrible place, the material world. It's like, I don't want to say, it's like, imagine a war zone, somebody you can't get out, you're in a refugee queue, and somebody goes, oh, here's a passport, just come over here, and you get on the UN truck and around there. That's what's happening to you. That's what's happened to us. It's just pure miracle. We have to be so grateful for Prabhupada. It's an extraordinary gift to us, Anyway, we'll stop. We can obviously keep going forever. We'll stop here. Anything else, Rory? No. Cool. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you.
Kirtan Adelaide. Leave a like and subscribe.